Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Big Facts. I am Justin, your host, along with Aaron Barrison. How are you today, Aaron?
Would be better if my team gave a shit about even being on a football field. But we got some stuff to dig into. I'm excited for this episode. How are you?
I have my level of excitement, but before I can get to it, I'm just going to have to go ahead and fly off Rank Cliff for a minute because I am done with the Philadelphia Eagles. I cannot continue to watch this garbage product that they put out week after week. The coach can't figure it out. The quarterback doesn't have any heart left in him. I don't want to hear excuses of injuries or any of this other fucking nonsense. I am full team blow it up right now. I am to the point where this season is so far gone. I don't even care if we find a way to win the division. If we win this
I don't want to.
We're going to get our teeth kicked in a wild card game. It's not going to be fun for anybody. I don't care about the outcome of this season because it's over. Show me what I have in Jalen Hurts. Let Jalen Reagor take all of the first wide receiver snaps in every game and let me see what I have there. Put Jordan Mailata in at left tackle. Get Jason Peters off this team. What the fuck are we doing? Why are we in this position where 3 years ago we won a Super Bowl? It was the top of the mountain. We had reached it. And I'm sure you remember, because I remember, this is the new normal. You remember that statement? That's a great statement. And all we've done is progressively get worse from that new normal. And I cannot watch Carson Wentz play quarterback anymore. I listened to a radio show last night on my way home, and I'll be straight honest with you. Carson Wentz might be the worst quarterback in football this year. I can make, if you give me enough time and enough ability, I can argue that he's the worst quarterback in football. Doug Peterson forgot how to call a game. Jim Schwartz's defense, other than Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat and Darius Slay, nobody's playing for anybody. This is a team that has given up on its management. And I need Howie gone. I need Doug gone. I need to see what can be salvaged. Everything's broken. When are we going to fix it?
So I called you yesterday, and I'm going over these situations in my head because I'm watching this football game, and I think we both defended Carson Wentz for the first 7 to 8 weeks. He kind of brought us back with the Pittsburgh game a little bit, brought us back with the Baltimore game a little bit, showed a little bit of fight, looked like he might be getting into some kind of rhythm. The last couple weeks, it's not just the lack of scheme and execution. I mean, 17 points against the Browns without Myles Garrett, 17 points against the Giants in a game for a division that you needed to win the game. And even in the wins, 22 points, 23 points, you're like struggle wins. One of those was on defense. And then, the rest of the season, it looks at this point just like we're not going to win another game. I watched Andy Dalton come in to the game yesterday with the Cowboys and look like the Andy Dalton that I saw in the Bengals. If he plays anywhere close to that and the Cowboys still feel like, obviously, because we've allowed them to feel like they have a chance to win this division, they might start playing with a little more urgency. We've already talked about the Giants. The Giants are probably, at this point, the best team in the division. They have the best defense. They might have the best quarterback for this year as of right now. I don't think Alex Smith or Andy Dalton are playing necessarily better than Daniel Jones, and they're probably the most well-coached team. The Redskins are starting to pick it up a little bit with Ron Rivera. They found a little bit of momentum with Alex Smith. I know he hasn't played football in a while, but he's still always been a pretty good and very accurate quarterback. It doesn't look good, and it's going to take probably only 5 or 6 wins to win this division. The difference between winning this division with 6 wins, at this point, you'd much rather only have 3 wins and possibly get a top 7 pick in this next draft and really address some needs. But I will say this, I'm watching all these guys that we let go around the league perform extremely well with their other teams. I'm watching Rasul Douglas be one of the better corners in the league. I'm watching Sidney Jones become one of the better corners in the league. I'm watching basically every wide receiver that we passed up on start trending upwards to superstar status. So I have a question for you. And to be honest with you, we watch DK Metcalf and we watch Justin Jefferson. We watch him every week, and it annoys us. I still like Reagor because I see these flashes where when Wentz is actually throwing the ball well, Reagor's making plays. I don't think it matters at this point if we had Justin Jefferson on our team because the line can't hold up and Wentz can't find the open receivers. We watched Jefferson, and our only question about him was he played in the slot. We see that he knows how to communicate with the quarterback and get in open space, but can he play the X? If he's with Carson Wentz, I don't think we see this type of production from Jefferson, from Wentz, or from the Eagles' offense at all. So does it matter that it seems like we're not drafting well, or is it really on the coaches that aren't developing the way that we need these players to develop?
Yeah, I mean, look at some of the guys that, like, let's leave DK Metcalf out of it because he was like an enigma. Like, nobody, there's a lot of teams that passed on DK Metcalf. As mad as we are, and we should be, every other team in football can be mad at their team. Look at a guy like McLaurin in Washington, who was not a Jalen Reagor top 5 at his position that year of the draft, and he wasn't DK Metcalf that slid to the 6th round, but we know had talent. McLaurin came in and was a number 1 wide receiver. Like there's no negotiating what he was. He was a primary target for that Washington offense,
regardless of the quarterback.
Correct.
Regardless of the quarterback, yeah.
And that to me is a player that maybe you're not expecting the world out of, but under the right circumstances with the right leadership becomes more. And of course, the Eagles can say, oh, well, look at what Doug Peterson did with Travis Fulgham and Greg Ward. And here's the problem. They have shown one-hit wonder type status. Greg Ward has been reliable this year, but he wasn't the Greg Ward we had for 5 games last year. Right. He just isn't, because he is a slot wide receiver. That's what he is. I don't disagree a little bit. I think if we got Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, I think if you found a way to trade for Julio Jones right now, he's going to look bad in this offense.
Yeah.
Because Doug Peterson is not scheming this offense to his players. We look at 2017 when Carson goes down. What did this franchise do? Doug, Frank Reich, and John DeFilippo got together and tailored an offense to fit Nick Foles. That was the RPO. That was what Nick Foles ran. That's what he executed well. That's what the players around him did the best. So they adjusted their offensive scheme to Nick Foles. Well, post Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl, what I see is they made a formula that worked for Nick, and now they want Carson to play the same position, and they're just not the same guy. And Doug, instead of going back to what worked for Carson in 2017, because that's Frank Reich and John DeFilippo's playbook, now Doug wants to fit Carson into his book rather than his book to Carson. And it's obvious. Carson looks lost, bro. He looks like he forgot how to play the position. How does that happen?
Yeah. It's interesting because all you have to do, Justin, for anybody that ends up watching this and wants to ask it, is Wentz the guy? Should we have paid him? If you go watch any part of 2017 that he played in any game, if you go watch the last 4 games of last year, it wasn't quite as good as 2017, but it was really good. You can only play who's in front of you. They needed to rattle off wins to get into the playoffs. They had all backup wide receivers, and he found a way to do it. When I watch Carson Wentz this year, there's on plays that he has to get the ball out quickly. It looks like he doesn't trust his wide receivers to win the battle, so he doesn't throw the football. On plays that take a little bit longer to develop, when somebody actually comes open, he almost has a hitch in his throw where you can see that he starts to wind up and then he second guesses it because it's been crammed into his head. Hey, don't turn the ball over, don't turn the ball over, don't turn the ball over, rather than just playing football. So you can see where the coaches are kind of impacting his play to the point where he doesn't trust himself to make them. And he doesn't trust his wide receivers to make them because there's been so many different guys in and out of the lineup. The only guys that he's consistently throwing the ball confidently to are his tight ends. When he throws the ball to Zach Ertz, it comes out right away. and he's already made the decision. When he throws the ball to Goddard, he has a lot of confidence in Goddard to, even if it's not the greatest pass, find a way to catch the football. He threw a touchdown, obviously, to Richard Rodgers the other day as well in the back of the end zone. The other issue I have with this is I've watched Carson Wentz over the last couple years read a defense and read his wide receivers 1, 2, 3. This year, once he's stuck on one side of the field, he doesn't come off that side of the field.
So there was every throw.
There was a ton of plays that even if he's not staring down the specific receiver, he's staring down the whole left side of the field, and it would be very easy for him to come back right and find somebody open. There was 2 plays the other day. As much as we want to say Reagor's not performing, the way Jefferson is, Reagor was wide open on the other side of the field, and Wentz just didn't even turn his direction. And I can't imagine after watching Fulgham for the 4 or 5 weeks that I watched him, that he couldn't get open at all. I know he was one-on-one with Ward most of the day. He's one of the better corners in the league. But to be a guy that's 6'3", 6'4", and puts on the catch radius that we saw over the first couple of weeks, you got to give that guy a chance to catch the football. And he didn't get the ball at all. I'll let you kind of build on that, but then I kind of want to get into some thoughts on Wentz compared to Jalen Hurts. But are you seeing those same things?
You made it. I think, I don't remember if you put it on our Big Facts page on Facebook, go like and follow, or if you posted it on yours. But 7 plays had been designed to end up with Jalen Reagor catching a football.
Designed for
that,
him,
to me, is a problem. I mean, it's a problem for a million reasons, but the biggest reason is that is a first-round draft pick. Yeah. That's a first-round draft pick. You draft a guy in the first round knowing that he is going to be an impact player for whichever side of the ball you draft him.
And real quick, before you continue your point, have you seen anything from Reagor that would make you think that he's not a number 1 when the football's thrown his way?
You got one bad play before he got hurt, where he gave up an interception on a duck that Carson threw. That
I love
wide receiver's not going to turn into a D-back.
I love what he does.
Right, and I'm 100% with you. And this is why I'm at the point now. If any of these rumors about Jeff Lurie that I've been reading on Twitter and Instagram are real, of how if things don't change, there's going to be a major facelift come January. I hope he's being serious.
I hope so. Yeah.
Because what you've seen is a steady decline. I don't care that they went on a 4-game, 5-game rip last year and squeaked their way into the playoffs and lost. That doesn't matter to me. You have seen a successive regression of 3 years post-Super Bowl. You've seen it get worse every single year. And not by a little bit, by a lot of bit. And your second overall franchise quarterback that you gave $120 million to looks like he can't play football. And it's either that guy, because that guy's broken, which it could be, or it's the obvious, which is Doug Peterson and this coaching staff. You said it, I think, last Sunday. I never thought I'd say I miss Mike Groh. I never thought I would say that. I miss the continuity that Groh and Doug Peterson had because they looked like they understood each other a little bit. Now it looks like it's Doug versus everybody in that building. And if that's the case, you need to blow this thing to fucking smithereens and start over. You have to.
Yes. So they're averaging, and I called you yesterday. I want to go over this. You were at work. We didn't get to really dig into it. But the Eagles right now are averaging 5 points in the first half of their games. They're not even able to get to 2 field goals. And we can, we wanted Mike Groh to leave, I think, because we were so used to what we got in 2017. We expected that to be the new norm. We expected to put up close to 30 points a game. We saw elite quarterback. I mean, there was no question, Justin, for the first 2.5 to 3 years for me of Carson Wentz when he got compared to Dak and when he got compared to Goff. I mean, we were almost making fun of the Rams for drafting Goff ahead of Carson Wentz after watching what Wentz did his first couple seasons. And although Dak played well, when you watched Cowboys games, you felt like a lot of those passing yards were in garbage time because the Cowboys were consistently playing from behind, and he kind of was able to pad, and he had explosive receivers. And we were like, well, given what Dak has, Wentz would throw for 6,000 yards with all those receivers, that great offensive line. That doesn't look to be the case this year. And there's such a big drop off from this year to last year. Now, I called you because my thought process through watching this game, when I'm watching Carson double clutch the football and I'm watching him not get the football out, and I can't help but imagine that if Myles Garrett was able to play last week,
it would have been so
how
ugly.
bad that would have been, because little do people know, last week Jason Peters, I think, had the lowest pass block grade in the league. Now,
3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and 6 quarterback hurries. Again, guys, this is not the Eagles' offensive line. That's Jason
Peters. Now, he when you have a decent day, you get scored in the 50s, 60s. When you have a good day, it's the high 70s, 80s. When you have a bad day, like a really bad day, it's in the 40s, 50s. His pass block grade on Sunday was 29.9, and he was going against the backup defensive end for the Cleveland Browns. So I am extremely happy that Myles Garrett didn't play, if only for the sake of Carson Wentz's health. Now, I called you yesterday, and I figured, I'm like, Jalen Hurts has to be foaming at the mouth, thinking, like, watching Carson Wentz and be like, there's no way that I can't come in and do better than Carson Wentz. And Doug Peterson was asked in his press conference, Justin, if there was any possibility that they would move on to Hurts. And he's like, well, no, that just means we're giving up on the season if we do that. I don't buy that at all. I get he wants to defend Carson Wentz, but let me lay some stuff out real quick for you. Jalen Hurts, in his last year at Oklahoma, we saw a completely different guy than we saw at Alabama. This is a guy that took in Lincoln Riley's offense and learned how to throw from the pocket and really play the quarterback position. This is a guy that his last year in college, he completed 70% of his passes. His first 2 years at Alabama, he only completed 62 and 60% of his passes. Now, it's not like you don't have opportunity to complete passes at Alabama with the great offensive line that you have every single year and the elite skill position guys that you have at Alabama. So he goes to Oklahoma, almost 4,000 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 picks, under a coach, by the way, that every offseason that there's a head coaching vacancy anywhere, people are clamoring to get Lincoln Riley because he already runs an NFL-style offense and does it at an elite level in college. So just to compare, by the way, to Tua, who had great college seasons, and I'm not talking about Tua in the NFL. That's not where I'm going with this. But this guy was
some Tua, bro. Some Tua.
Well, I'm comparing him because he was the number 5 pick overall this year, right? And Hurts was the number 34 or 36, whatever he was. Tua's stats actually passing were not as good. He had less interceptions, but he wasn't throwing as much as Jalen Hurts was in Oklahoma. Oklahoma had Jalen throwing basically what they had Murray throwing. Murray was the number 1 overall pick. They had the same yards per attempt. They had the same completion percentage, and Hurts was actually a bigger factor on the ground in college than even Murray was. So if you're telling me that I'm getting, and I'm not getting the same guy, I've watched Kyler Murray play. I know Kyler Murray is going to be an MVP of this league someday. But if I'm making a comparison and I'm thinking about quarterbacks at Oklahoma playing under Lincoln Riley, I'm thinking about Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. And Jalen Hurts is more similar to Kyler Murray. So I'm watching Kyler Murray have success in the NFL, and I'm thinking, if Jalen Hurts is even 75% of this guy in the NFL, why do you think they won't even give him an opportunity at this point? And we went into this, but they won't give him an opportunity to start a football game.
That's an easy question. I'll answer that, and then I want to get into your Oklahoma-Alabama comparisons because I think they're important for people to understand, and I want to go a little bit further into that. Yeah. The reason why they won't is because they won't eat their hat. That's it. They won a Super Bowl 3 years ago. They're not ready to let that glow go, and they want to stay behind their ego, and their ego is I can't say that I fucked up. And giving Carson Wentz $120 million with Doug Peterson as a head coach was fucking up. And they're not ready to admit it because Carson is a system quarterback. A lot like Deshaun Watson is a system quarterback. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't mean that they can't be really, really good. But they're not game breakers. They're not Russell Wilsons, Kyler Murrays, Aaron Rodgers. They're not those guys. That's not what a game managing system quarterback does. So they don't want to admit that Carson, the playmaker that got paid $35 million a year, isn't what they thought he was. That's the reason why we won't see Jalen Hurts this season, in my opinion. I mean, who knows? You lose the next 3. Maybe they pack it in for the last 2 and we do see him. I hope so. Now, let's get into a little bit of Alabama versus Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, we know Oklahoma produces far more quarterbacks than Alabama does just as a position. Yep. And the reason why is important to understand. Alabama does run a pro-style team, but mostly defensively and mostly a power run pro-style offense. That's the reason why you have so many backs come out of Alabama that are incredible when they reach teams that have really good offensive lines. Because Alabama builds from the trenches out, and they put a lot of emphasis on skill positions like wide receiver and running back, and they make a lot of pedestrian quarterbacks look really fucking good. Yeah. The reason why it's important to understand what happened with Jalen Hurts when he went from Alabama's power run pro-style offense to Oklahoma's spread-style offense, which is what Kyler Murray ran, which is what Baker Mayfield ran, which is what Jalen Hurts ran. The reason why it's important to understand the distinction is that the NFL today, for quarterbacks, successful quarterbacks, not Ryan Tannehill's with Derrick Henry, successful quarterbacks, Kyler Murray's, Russell Wilson's, Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, it's a spread mobile quarterback offense that wins consistently in this league.
Right.
So when you look at what Jalen Hurts did now, Jalen Hurts went to Oklahoma and we saw 5, 10, 15% dip in stats, which would be reasonable to expect. You're moving programs, you're moving states, everything changes. The offense is entirely different. You're going to have a slip back. I still would have valued him around the second round because everybody forgets that before Tua happened, Jalen Hurts was going to be a top 5 pick himself coming out of Alabama. So when he goes to Oklahoma and puts up, in my opinion, better quarterback numbers at Oklahoma, I won't say that
they're way better.
Way better. I know that he rushed more in Alabama. I know that he had more rushing touchdowns at Alabama. I know all the stats aren't better. But as a quarterback, as a passer, his stats were significantly better at Oklahoma. That, to me, boosted his stock. I really believe that Jalen Hurts was going to go to Green Bay in the late first round to be their Aaron Rodgers insurance because they've done this before. But when he fell, I said to myself, I mean, I don't know how you felt. We both watched college football.
I liked him.
I thought that in your best, like we talk about Ty Maxey and the Sixers, Dwayne Wade is the mountain, and maybe a Jimmy Butler is the expected. You're going to get a decent quarterback out of Jalen Hurts. That's expected. But the top of that mountain is Russell Wilson. And if you're telling me that 10 years after Russell Wilson, I can still find him in the second round, give him to me every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah. So,
and that's the stuff that's important. That what he did in Oklahoma showed me. I bet you. I mean, you said this on Sunday, bro. It couldn't be worse, right? Like if Jalen comes, it can't be any worse. Maybe it's not better, but it can't be worse. What I saw out of Jalen Hurts in college, I don't know how it couldn't be better. He's just a better player than Carson Wentz is right now.
Right now, yeah, exactly. And just to throw this out there, so you would think that going from Alabama to Oklahoma, you would probably get it would accelerate your passing numbers and kind of dip your rushing numbers. His first year at Alabama, in his first 2 years, he averaged about between 2,800 yards, 7 yards per attempt, 23 touchdowns, 9 interceptions in his first year. That was his best year at Alabama. He also rushed for 954 yards and 13 TDs. When he went to Oklahoma, both of those went up. Same amount of passing attempts as his freshman year, almost 4,000 yards, 32 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but he ran for 1,300 yards and 20 touchdowns. So the ceiling is, like I said, we talk about Kyler Murray because they played in the same under the same coach on the same team, but he looks more like Russell Wilson than he does Kyler Murray. The frame, he's more of a fullback build than like a skinny Lamar Jackson running back, Kyler Murray build. There's just something different about him. And when I watched him play at Oklahoma, he dropped back, made his reads, made a decision, got the football out. Carson Wentz is doing stuff right now that he has to unlearn almost in a way. The habits are so bad. It's nothing that you are ever taught as a quarterback on any level to hold the ball longer than you have to. It's indecisiveness. It's lack of trust in the coaching, lack of trust in the receivers. And if it's going to be that way and you want to keep Doug Peterson, you have to make a decision at this point. Do you want to try to fix what Carson Wentz has kind of turned into, or do you want to change the coach up and see if you can spark something in him? At this point, I think he's so messed up from being a Philadelphia Eagle that you have to consider, if it finishes out the rest of the season this way, moving on from him. And to be completely honest with you, I'd rather not win a football game for the rest of the year, because this is just not a good football team. I don't want to see them start to inch out 17, 14 games because the defense is playing so well and find a way to sneak into a playoff spot in the NFC East.
And it's important to keep in mind, as a Philadelphia Eagle fan, Aaron, what is the most lacking position on this team?
Linebackers.
And what is the deepest in this draft?
This upcoming draft? I haven't dug into it. I'm hoping it's linebackers.
Linebackers. Listen, and we have a story in front of us that any other team would chase. There is a linebacker coming out of Penn State that may be a top 3 pick. Now, obviously, even if they lose out, you're not getting away from the Jets, but the Jets are taking Trevor Lawrence. We know how that's going to go.
Yeah.
So if you
Justin Fields is going to go in the top 5 as well. There's going to be 2 quarterbacks.
You can get to that 2, 3, 4 spot, and you may be able to draft the best linebacking prospect in the class, who's also from Pennsylvania. It's just a thing, man. How the fuck are we not seeing this?
You have to see before the end of the year, if it keeps going this way, you have to see what you have in Jalen Hurts, because you have to understand why you're going to draft the way you're going to draft. If you don't think Carson Wentz is your guy and Hurts isn't giving you anything more, then you have to start considering moving some of those guys, one or both of those guys, and maybe taking another quarterback at some point in the draft as well. So if you're going to be in a high draft position, quarterback was your second worst position, and you're not getting anything out of Hurts, if you have a top 5 pick, you might start thinking about a Justin Fields. There's just no way you can't allow Hurts to play to see what you have at some point before the season ends.
And listen, I'm sorry, after this year, you can't bank on having a full training camp to figure it out either. And again, if you go into next year to figure it out, you have a whole other season you've got to get through while your fan base suffers through more horse shit. And this is why I say, dude, and listen to me. I don't know that I'll be able to listen to another minute of Doug Peterson talk after a game. I am so fucking tired of this pompous, arrogant attitude. Like, how dare reporters do their job? Listen here, motherfucker. You were the head coach when you raised the trophy. I'm going to give you that. That was 3 years ago, and life works as what have you done for me lately? And you've done nothing but get worse. So you're going to get questions from fucking, I think it was Jeff McClain. Asked him why Alshon Jeffrey's on the roster, and he got butthurt about it. That's a real question.
It's a fair question. It's a fair question.
Jalen Reagor's your first-round draft pick. You're taking plays and snaps away from John Hightower, who you spent a pick on. What are you doing?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He wasn't as bad as he was last week, but you could tell by the body language and kind of the way he cocked his head and looked at the reporter asking the question. I'm trying to figure out what the issue is with this coaching staff and the GM, where they feel like they're going to get the best out of guys that are older and have been hurt. What makes you think, after watching the games this year, that either Alshon Jeffrey or Jason Peters are going to give you any type of production? Why isn't Mailata in the football game at left tackle? It doesn't. Why is Herbig on the bench? There's so many questions I have. I don't understand why Herbig's not playing over Pryor. Because he's a rookie, but this rookie has outperformed almost every other guard in the NFL in the starts that he made. So we're going back to these guys for whatever reason, the confidence level, the scheme we're trying to run, and we're trying to make everybody fit into what Doug wants to do, rather than trying to build an offense around the skill set of both our offense and defense. And that's the biggest problem I have with the coaching staff. It seemed like when Frank Reich was here, and a couple other coaches that we had were here, we were playing to the strengths of our players. And now it looks like Doug has a scheme that he wants to run. Schwartz has a scheme that he wants to run. And anybody that we happen to bring in is going to play in that scheme, or they're just not going to play. And that doesn't make any sense to me, especially with the signings from this year. You signed a guy that played in Pittsburgh in a 3-4 on the defensive line, hasn't done anything that you gave a huge contract to because you're unwilling to make your defense around the highest paid guys that you signed. Rather and not for nothing, the defensive line is one of the best in the league right now. They're a top three.
Javon Hargrave. It's fucking Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham.
Exactly, and that's my point. So you're messing your cap up to sign a guy to bring in that didn't even fit your scheme because you hope he's going to fit into your defense, and now your cap is screwed because of him, and you have to find a way to get rid of him because Malik Jackson's giving you better production than him. Even when Brandon Graham goes into the middle, he's giving you better production than Hargrave is. So it's a mess all over the place. We're going to take a quick break, Just, and then we're going to come back, give everybody kind of the rundown for this Thursday night football matchup, which is going to be a good one, and then we'll discuss the Sixers. We'll be back in about 3-4 minutes.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, we are back. So, Justin, we have a phenomenal Thursday night football matchup between some rivals here with the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Baltimore Ravens have been one of the more disappointing teams in the league, and the
most overrated team in the NFL is what you meant to say, but go ahead.
Yeah, disappointing, overrated, whatever you want to call them. I don't think we're overrating them anymore at this point. The formula's out. They're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Always a good, tough matchup, though, and you can't really shy away from just picking someone outright that easily when it's a division game. But the Steelers are undefeated, and I think they're going to get knocked off at some point, but they haven't. Who do you like in this matchup? I think I know who you like already, but let's dig in.
To me. Just out of curiosity, what's the line? Pittsburgh minus what? 4.5, I'd guess.
I actually would think it might be more because it's in Pittsburgh. It's probably going to be 6. Let me check real quick. You might be right, though.
I know you pull the lines that are a little bit more accurate than mine. Let me know where it's at.
Yeah, but dig into this. I'll find that line for you. Just the matchup in general.
I said this last week. I don't disagree that it's unlikely that they make it all the way through the season undefeated, but at the same time, it's not going to be the fucking Ravens. I mean, the Ravens are
Four and a half. You're right.
4.5. I figured as much.
45.
Over unders 45. It's going way fucking over. Listen, I don't want to scourge the Baltimore Ravens with what I'm about to say, but it's the closest comparison I've got. The Ravens are the second most disappointing team to the Philadelphia Eagles this season. I don't want to compare them because the levels of shit are so far apart from each other, but the Ravens are that disappointing compared to what we thought we had. And again, there's guys like you. I mean, you and me were talking about this a year ago. Lamar Jackson is not going to be the new standard. Like Patrick Mahomes is that already, and Lamar can't play quarterback as well. I don't think that the Ravens stand a snowball's chance in hell in this game. I think that this is probably going to be – I don't want to say it's going to be as much of a dismantling as what Pittsburgh did to Cincinnati in a divisional game, but it's going to be fucking close. It's going to be a stomp fest. I think that this is probably at minimum a 10-point game. So I would lay the points, take Pittsburgh, and go over.
I agree with all of that, and I want to point out a couple more things. So the Steelers right now are the best defense in the NFL, and we like to think that the Ravens are a good defense, but they're actually playing middle of the pack this year. They have not been a very good defense. Part of that is because they can't put up enough points to really get and sustain drives enough to get the defense off of the field. Lamar Jackson has not thrown the ball well this year. He threw the ball well last year. He hit open guys. When guys are open this year, he's having trouble hitting them. He can't throw outside, and teams have figured that out. So they're making him throw outside, covering up the middle, getting pressure up the middle, and they're giving him fits. Now, I think Lamar Jackson is a gifted enough athlete where he's going to figure out how to play just with his weaknesses, and I think he's going to still end up being a starting quarterback in the league the way the league's trending right now. But he really has to work on his mechanics and his throwing this offseason to be able to hit some of those throws and even increase his arm strength a little bit so that he can throw outside a little bit more with a little bit more confidence. Now, both running backs for the Ravens caught COVID, I think 2 days ago. And so they're going to be out. So their starting running back is not Ingram or Dobbins. It's going to be Gus Edwards. So that's going to be an issue for them. The Steelers are pretty healthy for the most part, but when your best trait about your football team, Just, is that you guys are a powerhouse run team and your best running backs are out of the game, you're going to have a lot more trouble running that option. You're going to have a lot more trouble opening up the play action and having guys respect the third string running back. So I do think that the Steelers are going to clamp down. They're going to put 8 guys in the box. They're going to be one-on-one matchups on the outside. And they're going to say, hey, if you guys want to beat us, Hollywood Brown's going to have to beat us off the line, and you're going to have to make those throws. Mark Andrews is going to have to beat us off the line. Wouldn't be surprised if they just tried to completely take him out of the game because he's probably the biggest threat against the linebackers they have. It's what they drafted Patrick Queen for. Other side of the ball, that's what the Pittsburgh has good linebackers. They're going to do really well on Mark Andrews. So bad matchup, really, for the Steelers. I know it's a division game. Steelers are just going to sweep the floor. I like them to win by 10. I just don't think the Ravens are going to be able to score at all.
I think this is probably, so if it goes under, it's like a 24-13 game. If it goes under.
Yeah.
If it goes over like I anticipate it's going to be like 42-21. And it's never going to be in doubt from the start to the finish of this game.
Yeah, so the Ravens, just so everybody knows, they actually had a decent game against the Titans. But again, the Titans defense hasn't played up to the standard they did last year. They scored 17 points against the Patriots. They did put up 24 on the Colts. So they've kind of overperformed for what their offense really looks like this year. I really don't see it happening with the Steelers. The Steelers won by 4 last time they played, which is only a couple weeks ago, which is why the line is only 4.5 points. But in my opinion, it just really looks like the Ravens are trending down.
Dude, this goes to show you, I don't talk about them, but I am high on the Raiders. I'm impressed. The reason why I picked the Raiders to cover on Sunday, and as you called me yesterday to tell me I had no idea I pegged the score dead on. This is not like divisional matchups. We talk about this all the time, right? It's rare that one team sweeps a divisional matchup. There's a lot of rules around divisional matchups.
They know each other really well. They know each other really well.
This is, to me, such a disparity of talent that it's not even close. It's just not. There's no way, in my opinion, there's no way that the Pittsburgh defense lets Baltimore score enough to be within 4.5, whether it goes over or under anyway. Even if Baltimore's defense shows up, Lamar Jackson can't do it by himself. It's like Dakota Prescott had a really, really good first couple of weeks before he got hurt. But Dakota Prescott's not winning it for you. He's the guy that wins with you, but he does not win it for you. And that's who Lamar Jackson is.
The Ravens are going to have to – if the Ravens want a chance to win this football game, their defense is going to have to play out of their minds and give you one of the best performances that they've given you all season. You know what the Steelers defense is going to give you at this point. They give it to you just about every week.
Running back, you've got a good tight end, you've got Juju and Chase Claypool. Oh my God. It's how do you match up to that?
Yeah, and Dante's over there killing it as well. Johnson, I think his last name is. So they're stacked over there.
It's going to be a great game if you want to watch a blowout.
So a couple things we had people watch for last week, you called the exact score, and I just want to follow up with this because we'll cover this a little bit more on Sunday. We agreed on the facts of the KC Oakland game. We didn't necessarily agree on the score, how much they were going to win by. You thought that the Raiders were going to be able to cover that line +8. And I thought, hey, if Casey's up at the end of the game, whether it's 3 points or 7 points, I just think they're going to try to run up to one more score on these guys for a little bit of payback for what happened last week. In the middle of your rant, Justin, you threw out a couple scores. And you said, I can see this game being X, but I think it's going to be something like 35-31. 35-31, Kansas City. Want to give you a quick clap it up, and I think you should clap it up for yourself. We had a good breakdown as well. If anybody wants to go back to the prior episode, I picked the Rams money line for Tampa Bay. I thought that they matched up really well. Now, the Rams, actually, in my opinion – every playoff team right now just seems to have some type of major flaw, specifically in the NFC. Like Seattle's up there, but they don't play any defense, right?
They're the James Harden of the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, New Orleans is up there, but now Breeze isn't playing. And, I think people are going to – Taysom Hill played well, but I think they're going to figure out how to stop Taysom Hill. He's not an elite thrower of the football, right? The Buccaneers are one of the most inconsistent teams. Tom Brady can't throw a deep ball anymore to save his life. He's missed on 22 straight deep balls at this point.
Last night.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So when you look at a team like the Rams, what I see is consistency with coaching and balance. There's games that, like, their offense and defense feed off of each other really well. If the offense is playing really well, the defense complements it. Doesn't mean they're playing at an elite level that day, but they know how to play complementary football. They know how to change field position. Hats off to Sean McVay. I thought there were some weird calls at the end of the game, but I cashed out. And the reason I thought there was weird calls is I bet this game. They were up 3 and decided to do so. They did some weird stuff.
I said, Aaron's got money on this.
So pissed off because I tried to I bet 120 to win on the money line to win 410 or something like that. I tried to cash out at 350 when they were up like 8. And then MGM keeps like reloading on me and won't let me cash out. And then I hit it and it's down at 270. Now the Bucks got I lost about $100 right there. And I also lost because I picked them to win by 7-12. That was a separate bet. They did some weird stuff at the end of the game. And then when Tom Brady got the football towards the end of the game and they had a chance to take the lead, I had to cash out because it's not that I thought Tom Brady was playing well, but at this point, after 20 years of watching Tom Brady play football, I wasn't about to bet the money I won on him not being able to drive down the field.
No, listen, bro, I don't disagree with you at all. Nobody watching that didn't think anything other than Tom Brady's about to win this game.
Now, the other thing about that, Joss, is imagine what defenses feel like when Tom Brady gets the football in his hand at the end of the games. If I felt like that as a bettor, we always talk about how good Tom Brady is at coming back, the 2-minute drill, him just run, 28-3 against Atlanta, things like that. You have to feel, I guess, also when you're on the defensive side of the football that, we really got to step it up because Tom Brady's on. Like, you have to have the same feeling I had as a bettor, and I can see now after having my money on the line there why defenses collapse under that pressure sometimes, because I collapsed under the pressure and I cashed out. So let's roll into the Sixers, Just.
We got to call out stupid, man. Stupid.
Yeah.
I got to tell you the truth, and this is why I want to talk to you about what I told you I wanted to talk about with this. Because I feel like if there were a situation about to happen, this idiot may have just ruined it. So you sent me a post, I believe it was on Monday morning. It might have been Sunday night, I don't remember. That was from Ben Simmons' sister that basically, I'm not going to quote it, but basically was so excited for Tuesday when the trade news comes.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, obviously, my brain starts spinning. Who are we going after? Is this maybe the James Harden move? Is this maybe Devin Booker out of Phoenix because we gave Chris Paul a different big guy? Who knows what it could have been? The possibilities were endless.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened, because why the fuck would it? Because that's just not how life works. So I wanted to talk to you. First of all, make a comment about the dumb sister, because that's necessary. But I want to ask you, if Daryl Morey were to trade Benjamin Simmons, or Benjamin, I apologize, there's no J, Benjamin Simmons, what are you expecting back?
So here's the issue with trading Simmons right now is you don't have any true point guard on the team. So I know they were experimenting last year with possibly moving Ben Simmons to the power forward. It doesn't look like they're going to have to do that anymore. They're going to be able to fill out their roster spots the right way. But the issue with trading for any sole player outside of James Harden is who's running the point for you. We've talked about Zach LaVine, but he is not a point guard. We've talked about Bradley Beal, but he is not a point guard. Both elite scorers. I'd love to have them. I think I would trade Ben Simmons for Bradley Beal straight up, but I wouldn't trade him for Zach LaVine straight up. Although I think Zach LaVine's an ascending player, I still think Ben Simmons is better. You have to start looking at teams, with guys that are looking to get out of contracts or get out of their situation. And I just don't know. I think the Sixers kind of missed a couple Daryl Morey made a ton of great moves. He was concentrated on getting rid of bad contracts, but there's a couple point guards that have moved around and been signed. And I just don't know at this point what makes sense as far as trading Ben Simmons, unless you're going to get back an all-star plus a backup point guard, because you just don't have anyone to run the point. So the Rockets aren't giving up James Harden for Ben Simmons. I wouldn't give up James Harden for Ben Simmons. I don't want Russell Westbrook. I know he wants out of there. I don't want John Wall. I know he wants out of there. So there's something that has to be going on behind the scenes that Daryl Morey is working on as far as cap goes, because I just don't see anybody being moved before the season starts unless we're getting some backup pieces. I don't see Simmons going anywhere. Don't see Embiid going anywhere. Your thoughts?
So what if a world existed where you got CJ McCollum, a backup point guard, and just for shits and gigs, let's say that they threw in Melo, and you had to give up Shake and Ben or Furkan and Ben?
You can't, because you still don't have anybody running your break. You don't have anybody that's really bringing the ball. Like Shake is the point guard if Ben's not in at this point, so you can't give up both of them in a trade unless you're bringing a backup point guard back and you want the backup point guard to be your starting point guard. So that's the problem. There's all these shooting guards and small forwards available, but unless I'm getting you could even convince me if I was getting something huge back in a package with Rajon Rondo that he could start for my team as long as I'm getting an all-star back. But there's not any of those scenarios. If you wanted to go after a Drew Holiday, you could have packaged up Ben Simmons and sent him over for a Drew Holiday and someone else. But what is available, it doesn't seem like there is anything.
So I got a fun one, and I don't think this is reasonable or realistic, but it would be this would be the left field one, and it makes sense. It's not unreasonable because it doesn't make sense. It's just more than likely not going to happen. So imagine a world with me Where did Rondo just sign?
I think he went to Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Atlanta. So imagine a world with me, if you will, where you get, let's say that you go to New Orleans, and New Orleans is trying to build around Zion. He's obviously their guy. And you get Eric Bledsoe and you get Brandon Ingram for Ben Simmons and who cares what. Does that immediately improve your team? And I think yes, and here's why. I think Eric Bledsoe has proven playing with Giannis that he can be a starting point guard. He's not a 22 points a game point guard, but he's a starting caliber point guard with enough vision to be a starter. That would then move Danny Green to your 6-man. Seth Curry be your 2, Brandon Ingram be your 3, Toby your 4, and Joe your 5. And it gives you, I think, better, younger, more consistent scoring. And to me, if I'm getting rid of Ben Simmons, it's not to replace his distribution ability. It's to replace his lack of scoring with a ton of scoring, i.e. James Harden. So for me, that's how that trade would happen.
We can imagine that scenario. The issue is that they love Brandon Ingram. They actually just signed him to him. They signed him to his max extension the other day. He got 5 years, $195 million. De'Aaron Fox just got his max extension. If these guys were going to be moved, they don't get that money unless it's an immediate sign and trade. And I don't even think you can structure it that way unless he's on the same team that he got the max from. But I like, here's the thing, man. If you're going to give me an average point guard, but give me a guy like Brandon Ingram who's a walking bucket for Simmons and Brandon Ingram, here's the other issue, Just. We had a chance to draft Ingram over Simmons if we wanted him. Now, I still obviously think that Simmons has a higher ceiling, and we're going to see how Brandon Ingram finally can play this year, being the main guy, but having a couple other guys on the team that can score. Like Zion didn't play for 2/3 of the season. So Brandon Ingram looked incredible. I think he averaged close to 26 or 28 points per game. He had a couple 40-point nights when he wanted to score. Nobody was stopping him. We'll see how they play complementary basketball this year. We talked about it last year, and I said it over and over. I thought the Pelicans were going to find a way to sneak into the playoffs last year as the 8th seed. They couldn't play in during that play-in tournament, but they are going to be a 7 or 8 seed this year. And if Zion is everything he's hyped up to be, they could be a 4, 5, or 6 seed this year. But yeah, I love Brandon Ingram. I think he's ascending. I still like Simmons' ceiling more. But if I have a 2-year window or something, or a 3-year window where I'm trying to win a championship, and right now I could take Brandon Ingram, I would take him. The problem is the Pelicans aren't getting rid of him. And at this point, again, I don't know who is even out there for the Sixers to get. They've kind of waited. They're going to have to wait to sign some kind of backup point guard or any type of point guard, but I don't think anybody's moving at this point.
I don't disagree. And listen, don't get me wrong. I feel like if Ben Simmons were involved in a Zach LaVine trade, if I'm getting Zach LaVine and Kobe White and a top 3 protected pick back for Ben Simmons, I think I still pull that trigger.
Yeah, for sure.
White is obviously young. We only had him a little bit of last season, but he showed some flashes. But he is a true point guard. And you're getting the 30 points a night that Zach LaVine can give you if you put him in the right position. And again, I'm okay with all of these outcomes because the coaching staff that they have assembled in this town for the Sixers,
phenomenal,
is unbelievable. There's literally nothing more we could have wanted out of this coaching staff than what we got.
Yeah, so it's going to take, I'm okay. And at this point, we have to be patient as Sixers fans because there is a lot of new pieces. Even though the starting lineup's going to look for the most part the same, there's guys that they're going to have to start working into this lineup. There's guys that are going to have to get coached up by the second unit. I think when we start this season, man, we are going to see immediately how much of an improvement Doc Rivers is over Brett Brown. And I don't think it's going to be close. Now, they only have a month, pretty much. The season starts in a month. They went right from draft, basically right into the season. And the good news is, teams like the Sixers who didn't have a deep playoff run didn't just stop playing basketball. There's going to be some teams the Miami Heat are going to struggle a little bit at the beginning of this year because they just got done playing basketball. And I think you'll see a team like that start getting tired towards the end of the year because they haven't had any time off. They're going from one season to the next. The Bucks had an early exit. Kyrie and KD are coming off an injury. We're going to see kind of how that shapes up. Apparently, Kevin Durant looks phenomenal in the pickup games that he's playing. There's like no difference in what he's doing. He's playing against NBA guys. People are saying that. I'm sure he's going to be great. He's Kevin Durant, right? He's Kevin Durant.
I'm not going to say that. Listen, until I see Kevin Durant come back from an Achilles tear and be the same Kevin Durant, I'm not going to assume he's the same Kevin Durant.
Now let me ask you this. I think that Toronto's well coached, but I don't think they have the star power to get back to the finals. Miami is well coached and has a great roster. Sometimes second-year guys, Tyler Herro, like they have a little bit of a down year before they have another up year. It's like great rookie year, and then there's expectations, and they kind of settle down a little bit, and then they start building their way back up into an all-star. I think he's a cold player, so I don't think that's going to happen, but I also don't think Miami's going to get back to the finals. The Bucks still haven't showed me that they can make a legitimate playoff run. They've made some moves. Drew Holiday's there now.
They got worse.
What's that?
They got worse. The Bucks got worse.
Yeah, I agree with that. So that Bogdanovich trade just got nixed, and he ended up signing with the Hawks. Now the Hawks have they filled out a really good
Let me
roster,
tell you something.
By the way,
your New Orleans Pelicans of the East is the Atlanta Hawks.
Perfect summary of them. They've filled out that roster. So
Danilo, Bogdanovich, the kid they drafted in the first round, Trae Young, John Collins. Holy shit, dude.
Stacked. Rajon Rondo is a backup point guard.
And Trae Young, who's already one of the best passers in the league, getting time with Rondo. Holy shit, dude.
So isn't it funny, though? And I just want to bring up this point because we're almost out of time here. So there's a lot of teams that are going to be competing for a spot. The Celtics are still there. They haven't made any moves to get a big guy, so I don't know how much more they're going to do. They might have gotten worse, too. It looks like the Sixers got better. Brooklyn's going to be better. Atlanta's going to be better. And every other team's good. Like Milwaukee lost their second unit. They gained a good starter, but they lost their second unit. Isn't it funny how LeBron goes west, runs through the playoffs one time, and then everybody goes east?
So yeah, listen, that's great. And I got to also point this out to you because we talked about this. Isn't it crazy that the Los Angeles Lakers, without a doubt, were the best team in basketball last year? That's why they walked through. Now, listen, Jimmy Butler gave them problems and had one of the greatest playoff runs of all time. But let's be real, there wasn't a minute of that series where we went, the Lakers might lose. The Lakers were the best team in basketball last year. Help me understand. The Lakers are the best team in basketball. They win an NBA championship. And the following offseason, they're the most improved team.
Yeah.
That is fucking crazy. Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, Marc Gasol. Do I have to say more? Dwight Howard or Marc Gasol? Who do you want? Marc Gasol, bigger game, more versatile. Montrezl Harrell, the sixth man of the year. Dennis Schroeder, the runner-up to sixth man of the year.
And listen to this. These are young guys, too. Yep. Schroeder's 27 and Harrell's like 24, I think. So
and Dennis Schroeder is going to be a monster playing on LeBron James.
Yeah. So the funny part is, too, is once LeBron decides, like, these guys could be here for a while, right? Once LeBron decides that he just wants to play pure point guard, like his body can't take the amount of scoring anymore, and he just kind of wants to analyze the game, dish the ball out, and start getting 18 to
John Stockton.
Yeah, 18 to 22 points rather than going for 27, 28 every night. He's going to have a full team. He's going to be able to sit on the bench for extended periods of time anytime this year. And I thought the Lakers were going to be in trouble this year a little bit because they had a deep playoff run. Everybody was playing through injuries. They found a way, to easily win the championship. They go to the draft and they have to play again in a month. And LeBron's like, holy shit. Like, I've been basically playing in the playoffs and the finals every year for the last 11 years. He's played an extra 4 seasons worth of games on top of what he's actually played. So he's in his 18th year. He's played 22 years worth of NBA seasons. So you start to think, all right, is he going to get injured? Is he going to wear down? he doesn't have to play the first 20 games if he doesn't want to. That team is constructed well enough where they can keep you at probably above 500 in 20 games without LeBron stepping on the basketball court.
When LeBron decides that he wants to put up a year of over 40% from three, he can do that on this team.
Yeah.
He can put Dennis Schroeder in at the one and play the three, his natural position, and just go stand on the wing like Danny Green does. He can just hang out and wait.
Stand in the corner and play defense.
Yeah, hang out and wait and make sure they don't score. I mean, dude, this is LeBron James' best team he's ever had by a mile.
By far.
A mile. Like, listen, there's the star power of Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh aren't there with him other than AD. He's got one of those two big guys. But the rest of it, all 8 other guys that are going to touch the floor this season are all significantly better. Mario Chalmers, I'm just saying, they're significantly better. He has the best team he's ever had in his career. And as much as it pains me, and it doesn't, because I believe the Sixers are coming out of the East this season. They're not going to beat the Lakers. The Lakers are going to win the next 2 titles. The Lakers are going to match Golden State's repeat as LeBron rides off into the sunset.
So let me ask you this. I don't think it matters either way. I don't think a trade of Simmons for Harden. I don't think finding a way to trade off Toby and some young guys for Levine or Beal would even do anything. Is there a scenario where one of those trades happen and you think they can compete with the Lakers?
So right now today.
Because remember, real quick, the one of the guys, LeBron's going to do what LeBron does, and I'll let you finish. But the Embiid Davis matchup is Davis is a better player, but that would be a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, for sure. So the way the team sits right now, which is, as we just discussed, all they have to fill out is they need TJ McConnell back. They need a backup point guard they can count on to run a second unit. And I'm sure there's one out there. It could be Shake. He could be on the team. Who knows? But that's all they have to fill out. The way that this team sits right now, I think that they push the Lakers to 5 or 6 games anyway. I think they're a little bit better than the Miami Heat were last season.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a team that does push the Lakers. It's not going to be easy, but it's never going to be in doubt. If the Sixers find a way to keep Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and bring Bradley Beal into this team, because Bradley Beal will play your 3, not your 2. Bradley Beal's going to be your small forward. You're more than likely going to have Seth Curry start your 2, and you're going to have Matisse Thybulle or Danny Green start your 4 and play a smaller 4.
Yeah.
The level of spacing on that team with Joe in the hole and Ben distributing, that is a team that competes with the Lakers. And what I mean by that is they still probably lose in 6, but it's not 2 games they lose by 25 and a couple they're close.
So in my opinion, it's not even the reason that the Lakers are going to run this shit for the next 3 years has nothing to do with the amount of it has something to do with the amount of talent they have, but they have the added advantage of having a coach on the floor directing traffic at all times, and everybody makes the right play. Simmons has not quite grown into that yet, and Embiid's never going to be that. Embiid can be a guy that talks, is loud, can bang down low, all that stuff, but he's not directing traffic on the floor. Doc Rivers would have to outcoach Frank Vogel and take the coach out of the game and hope that there's just some mistakes made throughout that series in a way that team is just so a high IQ they don't make those mistakes. Now, you're going to see a little bit of drop-off in IQ when LeBron's not on the floor at this point because you don't have a Rondo running the backup point. You don't have a Dwight Howard that comes in, knows his role and knows how to be dominant in like small little spurts. But that team has improved. They're going to learn a lot from LeBron. We'll see how the personalities mesh. And I think that if the Sixers got Bradley Beal, we could start having that conversation. But I still need to see them make their way through playoffs, stay healthy, and find a way to compete for a championship. Closing thoughts, anything on Thursday Night Football, anything on the Eagles?
Well, the Eagles fucking suck, guys. Let's just accept what we're in. The Eagles The Eagles fucking suck. I agree with Aaron. I don't want them to win another game for the rest of the season. Get a higher draft pick. Get rid of Howie fucking Roseman. Fire Doug Peterson. Find a way to make this team win again. And for the love of God, let me see what Jalen Hurts is just a little bit. Just give me a taste. Give me a quarter, a droplet, something.
You gotta blow it up.
You got to blow it up, guys. The Eagles fucking suck. I'm sure we're going to get our Thursday night football picks together for, I think it's 3 games that are tomorrow. At the very least, we're going to get them up on the Facebook page. I know we're both going to try to see if we got a time tomorrow morning before we start cooking and all the Thanksgiving stuff. We'll try to jump on, but if we can, at the very least, it'll be on the Facebook page. Go follow us on Facebook, Big Facts. Follow us on YouTube, Big Facts. Check us out on all of our streaming platforms, as Aaron's going to remind you in a moment. Be excited about the Sixers and fuck the Philadelphia Eagles. That's what I've got, buddy.
Bold prediction, and I'll let everybody go. I don't even think it's that bold at this point. The Eagles will lose their next 5 games. And then if it comes down to Washington trying to sneak their way into the playoffs here, because maybe they end up being the best team in the division with 6 wins, there's a chance that we might have fun the last game of the season as the Eagles try and play that spoiler role. I don't want to see the Cowboys get in. So if it's like they got to beat the Redskins so that the Redskins don't get in, the Cowboys do, I don't want to see that happen. But if they can beat the Redskins to allow a team like the Giants to get in, I'll be rooting for the spoiler. I always want to see them close the season. If it's going to ruin our draft pick, I don't want it. But 3 wins, 4 wins, you're shitties. It is what it is. So that's all I got. Hopefully 5 losses, maybe 1 win, hopefully 6 straight losses. I want a top 5, top 6 pick. We'll see what happens the rest of the year. We'll be back with you guys Sunday. Justin was over 500 last week. I was 500 last week in our picks. So hopefully we can build on that for the following week. I think this week's games are a little easier to pick than last week's games were. Follow us on Big Facts, Facebook, Instagram. Stream us on Spotify, Big Facts Podcast, and we will be with you guys on Sunday. Justin, have a wonderful rest of your week.
You too, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, brother.
Take it easy.